go in front of a crowd or you speak to someone, and it can really change and adapt what they thought of you. It can either give you lifelong followers, or maybe someone can think you're not as great as they once did. The steps for building a brand are to determine your expertise, so who you are, defining your brand, who you're writing for, why, what you're doing, building a strategy for your book, your characters, and your world. So again, how can this be bigger than just me? Developing an online strategy, so both social and digital. Start writing. So what can you write to help support your brand outside of the piece you're working on? Looking for speaking engagements. Again, that platform to help share your brand. Building a network and using it, so people that can help you share your message to others. And monitoring your brand. How can you constantly monitor and adapt it to fit? Determine your area of expertise. This is the self-identification phase. So who are you? What kind of writer do you want to be? What kind of genre do you want to write in? Do you have a specific subgenre that you enjoy? Maybe there are a couple you're deciding between, and that's okay, because the more you write, the more you're going to develop that and figure out what is your niche, what you really enjoy doing. What's your writing style? Do you prefer having a narrator? Do you like those short, snappy sentences? Do you always have a strong character lead? Would you like publishing or posting your work? Is it the traditional printing and publishing route? Or do you want to publish your work purely on a digital landscape with a blog or an article or an online forum? A lot of times you can just look back and see what you've done and then assess what you like doing, what worked, what didn't work, what you can adjust, and then try to build out, who am I from here? Your audience personas is your who. So who are you writing for? Why are you writing for them? But who are the people that you want at the end of the day to buy your book and read it, or subscribe to your blog, or sign up for your article? A proper brand persona is something that's going to guide your content, your strategy, and direction. So figuring out who these are, other than just a name, that can help you when you're writing, to help tailor what you're writing to these people. A brand persona can help guide your actions. So when you understand who you're writing for, you can better determine do they want this? Will they care about this? Does it matter to them? Will it add value? How will it add value? We'll go into our first activity. So this will be on page 2 of the workbook. And this is creating your audience personas. So right now I'm just looking for you to name who you're actually targeting to write your books. You can target multiple people or a wide variety of people, but just figure out who is going to best get that. So the types of people that would benefit from your book. For example, I want blank to read my book. I want people that want to change your diet, history buffs, those starting a new job, children under the age of 10, do-it-yourselfers. So I'll give you guys 30 seconds for that.
Lacy, if you could just give them a few extra minutes. Some of the participants are just downloading the workbook still.
Sure, yeah.
Just 30 extra seconds maybe would be great.
Yeah.
Those of you who are struggling, maybe just focus on what's going on screen, because the activity is here, the one that Lacy has mentioned. So if you're struggling, just maybe just focus on what's going on, and we will definitely get you the workbook.
Yeah, you can always write it down on a piece of paper for now. Yeah. And it is in the workbook. It's clearly defined. There's spaces of where you can write. And like I said, I did put description into each thing so that it could be a cue for you to remember what I was asking.
Great, thanks, Lacy.
Raina, do you think we're good to go ahead, or do you need a bit more time?
I think we should be good. Yeah, thank you, Lacy.
You're
I'm
welcome.
just sending it out again.
Okay, thank you. All right. So moving on to elaborate on this persona, so the names of the people you're writing for, we're going to write a summary for each persona. So this will be that reminder of who you're writing for. Here you want to give enough information to describe that you can describe to someone else who you're writing for, and they can picture or properly name that person. I have some cues listed in the table below. So think of things like the demographics. Is it children under the age of 10? Is it married couples? Is it someone going through a divorce? What's their occupation? Are you writing for something that's specific to them? They like, dislike, what do they struggle with? What do they need help on? Their buying decisions. This one's a big one because, for example, if you're writing to children, well, they might influence the buying decision, but ultimately it's going to be a parent or parental guardian that's going to be that final decision maker. Why are they fit for your book? What questions they ask? So what things they need to know? Where do they go for the free time? What associations are they part of? What hobbies do they have? What social media platforms they engage in? So where are they online that you need to be? So I'll give you guys 3 minutes to make some notes about each one. Give you 1 more minute of time here.
So, Lacy, just FYI, we have a little bit, we have a couple of comments here about applying this to fiction writers and having trouble applying what you're saying to that sort of area. Is there maybe some comments or suggestions that you might have for those in fiction writing and looking at this?
Yeah, it really depends on, so I guess it goes back to that self-identification. So figuring out who you are, what's your writing style, but who are you trying to target then at the book? So if it isn't someone trying to solve a specific problem like changing your diet, who do you want to pick up your book? Who do you picture reading your book? What age range are they in? Are they male, female? Why are they using your book? So is it to escape from the world for a bit and take a break? It's, this part is really just envisioning who you picture sitting on a couch reading through your book. And for those that asked, if that doesn't explain it enough, let me know and I can clarify further. Okay.
So we had one great example here, Jane. Excuse me, Jane. I'm not sure how to pronounce your last name, but she says, "Here's my
Vazzarelli.
example." Varsar.
Vazzarelli.
Oh, Vazzarelli. Great. Thank you. Retired women with time on their hands, retired women looking to recapture romance. So thank you very much for that example. That's great. If you want to add something in the chat, I can definitely share it with everybody too.
Yeah, love that. So that's a great way to show, again, who you're just trying to vision. So now you have a better description of why someone might be reading your book and what you're trying to do. So now anytime you're going to do an action, whether it's create a social post, maybe post a picture, write a supporting blog, presenting, or just speaking about your book, or even writing that next chapter, you can envision who you're trying to write it for. And now it becomes more of a conversation between you and your reader instead of just trying to get words onto a paper. It is going to help guide those actions and what you want or where you want to get your book from. Thank you for sharing that.
And we have a couple of other ones: adult women and men who enjoy character-driven narrative, between 20 to 40 years old, likes fantasy, different cultures and worldviews. This is really in-depth, Brandy. Great. Another one is university-educated people who enjoy history and fantasy. Carol says children learning to read, or parents reading to their children, which is great for kids' books. That's similar to what I had in mine. And a couple, one from Nicole, ages 18 to 65, all genders and ethnicities. How things could, people who question how things could potentially be in the past or the future. Great, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, everyone.
Yeah, thank you. So again, like you look, it doesn't always have to be a specific, a short age range. It can be wide. It could be just someone wanting to solve something, someone to do something, somebody wanting to question something. You can see how each of those that, right away you have a clear answer of who you're positioning your book, but you can actually go in and do a pitch and say, this is my target audience. You can walk in a bookstore and say, my book needs to be positioned here because this is who I'm speaking to. So now these things that you get to know about your audience can become points to help you market your book. All right, so move to the next slide. This is, again, getting to know the who a little bit further. So this is the specific needs of each audience member. So their core problem. So what they have going on, what solution do they need to be solved? I want to make note that a problem can either be negative or positive. So it doesn't always have to be something happening. Sometimes they're wanting to enhance, again, maybe it's just sitting on the couch and wanting to escape for an hour or reconnect with love. Or maybe it's wanting to change something about their diet or learn something about history. But what core problem do they need solved? Not the solution, because we'll do that next, but the problem. Give you guys a minute for this. All right. So now we're going to answer that with the solution. So this is positioning your book or your writing, your written work, as that solution to that problem. Focus on what's a differentiation. So why should they purchase your book or subscribe to your blog and newsletter versus something that's similar? Chances are there are probably a lot of books in the same genre that are trying to solve the same problem. But what's specific about yours that can add value? So how does your book satisfy the need or want? What is it about you or your book that's the option for them? Give you guys a minute for this one. All right. So before we go to the next section, Raina, were there any other questions?
Not so far. If anybody has any questions, please, again, put them in the chat.
Sure. Okay.
Sounds like everybody's busy writing.
Good. Good. Well, we'll move on to the vision. So the vision of your brand is the brand purpose. So it's your why. Why are you doing what you're doing? What are you passionate about? Why are you passionate about it? People today, consumers today, they're not just buying something or paying for something. They want to have more value. They want something that makes a difference. They want something that can add value to their lives, something that gives them more than just the product that they're purchasing. It's important for them to be able to build that connection with you. For repeat sales, it's really important for them to build that connection. And the whole vision is about that why, that discovery phase. So that storytelling portion of your journey. Why are you doing what you're doing? Why do you love what you're doing? And it's important for you to be true to yourself. Chances are there's probably another book or another piece of writing that's similar or doing the same type of thing. You need to make this about yourself. Your brand is that reflection of you, who you are, what you believe, and what you stand for. For your vision, I want you guys to just focus on, why do you write? So again, when you quickly think about it, why do you pick up that pen, the laptop, the typewriter? What goals you're writing, trying to fulfill? What story you're trying to share? A good way to answer this is, if you think of people reading your book, you want them to say, your book made me feel this way. It's another minute for this one. All right, moving on to your vision, or your mission, sorry. So the brand focus is your mission, your what. So what are you doing? Brand mission will describe how you want people to perceive your brand whenever they come into contact with it, whether it's interacting with you, your website, your blog, your book, another piece of sale item, or something else you're trying to sell. It gives your brand a clear message of who you are, what you're doing, what you want that next action step to be for the reader. So again, if you're trying to solve a specific tangible problem, great. So you're trying to do this. If you're trying to just give them an escape from the world, great, then that's your mission. For your mission, again, focus on, what does your book do for people? How do you want them to feel when they interact with you or your brand? Well, when you answer or ask the question, how do you want people to answer after reading it, your book made me? Again, is it feel relaxed, be able to escape, reconnect with love, fix my diet, picked up a new hobby, passionate about something new? What do you want to do through your writing? Maybe it's 2 minutes for this one.
So Lacy, I'm just going to jump in because it feels like maybe about the 1 minute mark. Brandy is asking if this is a good question, answer for the last question. Trying to write a book that immerses people in a world not their own, idealized, but not without problems. I want them to feel like a situation is epic, even if the problems are very personal.
Yeah, that's really good. So you'll probably want to create, if you can, I try to shorten you, so I challenge you to do that, to shorten it to a smaller 1 to 2 sentence, but again, that really paints a picture of what you're trying to do, the feelings you're trying to emote in people. It's probably a little bit of a blend between a vision and a mission at this point, which is okay. You guys aren't a physical company that you have to have these specific and exact, but it does do a great job explaining what you're trying to do and what you're trying to get out of people and to make them feel. So it's great. Thank you for sharing.
Great, thank you. And Nicole is maybe just hitting on that last point you mentioned. I'm having a hard time differentiating the mission from the purpose. Can they be one and the same?
They can. Again, it's, for a company that has stores all across North America, they want it to be really specific. For someone like you, that's writing a book and trying to create your own world, it's okay if they blend a bit. What I do want you to be clear on, though, is the two, because the vision is more outward looking. So it's more focusing on what you want to do and why you're trying to do it. So who you're trying to change, adapt, what changes you're trying to influence versus what is the components about you. So what you want those external people and environments to think about when they see your brand. So vision's a little more external, mission's a little more internal, and what you're trying to do. It's kind of that vision's, I want to do this, mission's, how am I going to do this?
And she says, thanks, Lacy.
Okay.
Also, a note from Kelly, is it bad that I feel unsure of how to answer? I feel like I haven't narrowed it down yet.
No, and it's not uncommon either. I mean, it's great you're even starting this and joining this presentation, starting to think about that. That's the first step. You'll see a lot of authors that books into their career is when they really start to develop yourself. And I want to make note that you might have a clear defined vision of yourself now. It might change in a few years. So if you don't know it yet, that's okay. You're going to develop. The more you interact with people, the more you write, the more you ask these questions about who am I, what I want to do, what's my purpose, you're going to help develop that out. So all you need to do now is simply this. Just make some notes of what feels right to you and what makes sense.
That gut reaction, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And
Okay.
she says thank you.
Okay. All right. So move on to the brand values here. The brand values, so again, you'll see they kind of tie to that vision and mission, but these are the how. So internal how of how will you achieve that mission. Think of them as your coat of arms, your call to brand of your book. So what you're doing, why you're doing it, think of your ideal customer and how you're trying to reach them, how you're trying to help them, what makes you unique. So this is specifically thinking about those proof points of your internal self, your brand, and what you're doing to make sure that you achieve your mission, to make sure that you achieve your vision of making people feel a certain way. So when you're doing these, think of them as almost internal buzzwords about yourself. So things you want to do. They are the functional and emotional benefits of your book, what makes you unique, the personal truths, again, like the gut feeling about yourself. It can be things like, I commit to writing with honesty and integrity. Maybe you're a news reporter and I'm always going to tell the truth. Maybe you're writing to fight for equality and you want to change what people are thinking now. Maybe you want to just write to respect the world you've created and the fans you've gained. So now you can start writing stuff on social media or blogs or video blogs and write about that world you're trying to do. So this is almost just your commitment to your readers that's internal to yourself. So I will always, as a writer, do this. So I have 2 minutes for this one.
So we have a couple of, just one from Lisa. I commit to historical and emotional accuracy in writing my story world and my characters. Or is this too general?
No, I commit to historical accuracy. You can actually even just have it at that. And that's a big piece. So then when you describe your books, when you look for what you want people to make comments about or reviews on your books, have a piece that you want people to feel. You want people to feel you're historically accurate. So those are types of things. So even that you can do, but it's fine.
And we have one more question from Dell. Does a writer need to do this exercise for every book?
That's an interesting question. So if you have a series of books that are quite related, it might just be scrub and reuse. And maybe it's just a similar thing. If your books are quite a bit different, then yes, if they're either going to target different people, or if they're going to target the same people but in different ways, I would say it's important for you to do it. Because again, if you're pitching it to a book buyer to purchase your book, and they need to know the why and what's different about you, you're going to explain it a little bit differently. But again, it might not be complete A to Z as a type of difference. Maybe it's just a new take on the same. Okay. All right, so I'll move into the brand positioning. Brand positioning statement is a summary of your personal brand. So if everything we just talked about, everything you wrote about, this is a summary, and B, it becomes an external introduction of your personal brand. So when someone says, who are you? Describe your writing, describe your style, describe your world. This is how you would answer it. It's an action plan for your book. So how you position your book, what are you going to do? How are you going to pitch it to either your readers or someone to purchase it? And how do you want those people to perceive you? When you're writing it out, now I'll give a tip on this one for writing that might be a little bit easier, but think about things that, again, is unique about you and your book versus something similar. Why should they choose your book? Who are you? What do you do? Why do you do it? Who do you do it for? Why you do it? And the tip that you can do for starters, or just to start this one, because this is kind of more of a altruistic type of answer, is go back through those questions. So from the slides 10 to 23 that we just did, so those previous activities, and maybe just highlight, circle, underline the key words or phrases that resonate to you, that you think, I could use this in an external statement. I could use this when I'm writing my author bio or my page to send to the media for my interviews. And then you can later go in and lengthen it. You can turn into paragraphs. You can adapt it for however you want to share what's about me page and website or anywhere. I'll give you 2 minutes for this one. All right, Raina, any questions that have come through?
Yes, we do have a general question here from Jane. She says, I'm trying to build a brand based around Panama, action, adventure, and great stories. However, I also have a children's series in the works. How do I integrate this in my brand?
Yeah, great question. So it's a common one too. And a lot of people write different series. And again, until you figure out maybe your niche, or some people might always do a couple separate, it's okay. So what's important for you is to find out what's different about the two. This is the same as thinking about yourself in your personal and professional life. So it's just creating that brand and tailoring that message, which the next slide will actually be helpful for that, but tailoring that message to the different audience. You might need to make different choices of social media platforms, maybe use a pseudonym for the children's book or the action adventure side of it, where you write as a different character. Or if you're writing as the same, then just make sure that anytime you post, comment, share a picture, say something about your book, do an interview, you make it clear to the person looking at it which one that post or that thing is targeting. And especially if it's online and digital, all like the social media tools, digital tools, they start to get really smart. So they have these algorithms that run, and as people interact with your posts or what you're sharing, they're going to start to be shown things of the similar content. So they'll be able to look for keywords or buzzwords, things you're using consistently in certain posts, and they'll show more of that same thing to that audience. If you're clear about who you are, so if you want to use the same website, you want to use the same Facebook or Instagram page, just make it clear that you write for each group. And people going on will know, so that then they know it's okay that if they see something that is action adventure and they're focused on children's books, it's forgiven because they know that you do both. So just be clear and then tailor those posts for the different, and then you can keep the same audience, even if you keep both in your name, both within your same brand.
Great, thank you. And I have a couple of people wanting, sorry, this chat thing is just not my friend today. An example for the brand positioning. So if I might, I can offer mine that we did the other day, Lacy.
Sure.
So I am also in this sort of position where I'm an author, editor, mother, and woman. I am Canadian, so I'm trying to incorporate all of these different things. And like many of you, I think it's a little bit difficult to get there. But the main focus for me is to provide information, learning tools, and resources for children and parents to remove the stress of big questions and re-educating. So hopefully that helps a little bit.
Yeah. So you guys, you can see then how you get a clear picture. You can automatically envision what her books are going to be like. If she has her social pages or website, you get a sense of what's going to be on them and what's there, maybe what types of things she's going to be sharing. So now she's given enough that you can buy into the brand she's selling, and you can follow it if you want to. And it's stuff, again, what are those critical points that are unique to you that you want to do? It's a culmination of everything from before. So who you're targeting, your why you're doing it, why you pick up that pen every day, what you're trying to portray through your brand, and put it into that description of yourself. So you can say it to someone and they can properly envision who you are.
We have another example from Nicole. Here's what I put for brand positioning, but I don't know if it's specific enough. I'm a fantasy author artist who's crafting stories to make adults feel curious and optimistic about the world and people around them. Doesn't really set me apart from anyone else yet, does it? I think that's pretty specific from my point of view. I see.
It is pretty specific, but I can see your question on the latter end of from the world around, like the end feels a little more general. Where you can make it specific is then the actions you do. So things you share, what you write, your books and stories. But maybe when it's question about what, or shape the world around you in what ways. So maybe you add in a couple little descriptor points to help elaborate on that. But again, your actions then are going to help sell that and make it more specific.
And Brandy shared, I'm young in heart, fun, caring individual, a little bit geeky, but authentically SL, I'm not sure what that means, but self probably. I write novels, I play video games, I watch anime, and make suggestions for others. Do it mostly for me and then people who want stories that focus on real feeling people in a fantastic setting.
Yeah. So again, that's a really good one that shows your personality. It's a great about me section on your website, or if you have a social media page that you're using, that people get a sense of who you are, not just I do this professionally, but these are my likes, my dislikes. People can now be a follower of you and not just your writing, because they like you, they get your character.
Great. So there's a couple others, but we only have a couple of minutes left, so maybe we'll just move on. Thank you, everyone, for sharing, and I'll keep noting the questions as we go here.
Thanks. So the brand story is that translation of your brand positioning into messages tailored to each brand persona, so each audience. So it's that targeted sales pitch of yourself, so things you guys just said, but how would you say it to each specific audience member? You can use supporting points to help clarify your claim. I'll go into this to show you guys the slide. So actually in your workbooks too, it'll show a table that has this that you can fill out. And it really is just focusing on that story. So the brand story, again, how would you position yourself to each persona? There could be a consistent theme that runs across, because at the end of the day, your brand is still your brand, but how you position it is going to depend on who you're speaking to, when and where you're speaking to them. The supporting points are what proof points you can state to back up your claim. And again, your answer should be similar, but tailored to the persona. So how would you introduce yourself if you had each a representation of each target audience right in front of you? It could be, I have X years of this type of education. I've written X number of award-winning books, years experience, I'm passionate. I'm in that same situation. I was in that same situation. I love to read and I want to share it with people that are reading. So I'll maybe, just because of our time now, maybe give 1 minute for this one. And then again, you can make some notes, and if you have questions, you can ask them later. Give you a few extra seconds here.
And I'm just going to let everybody know we're going to keep going here. We're at the 10-minute mark here for the hour, but we'll just let Lacy finish up. There's just a few more things. If you do want to pop out, that's fine. Go ahead. And thank you for joining us. And Lacy's info will be up, so you'll be able to connect with her if you want to later on.
Thank you. Okay, so building a strategy for your world is just essentially, how can you take your brand and place it into everything you do? How do you use it in your books, your writing, your selection of events that you attend or speak at, your responses to fan questions, your additional series? Do you have extra point of sale items that you create for your book, whether it's maybe a great picture, maybe it's a caricature of someone in your book? How your books look on a shelf? Do they all look the same? Do they have a consistent image that goes across the spines? And an online strategy is just that digital platform and representation of your brand. So social and digital. Be cautious of your related accounts, whether it's personal or if you have an account under a different name. Copycat accounts, fan accounts that are created. Make sure you're on top of those and that you can monitor what's being said so it fits your brand. Don't if you can't means if you don't have time or it's not feasible for you, don't do it. So don't create a Facebook page if you don't like Facebook and you know you're not gonna have the time to post on it. It's just gonna hurt your brand because people are just gonna see a blank slate. Plan a strategy or build a strategy. So what do you want that website, that series to look like, or your blog or whatever it is? What do you want it to look like? What content should be in there? How often are you gonna post? What are you gonna post about? Monitor your interactions. So how are you coming across online? What are people saying about you? What are they asking you, or how are they engaging with you? So if someone keeps asking you questions or they're commenting on certain things, that can be great content for you to build off of, and either maybe create a separate little series or maybe something to support and write about because maybe someone's struggling with something. Track your metrics. So how are people engaging? What are they saying? Yes, likes are good, but the amount of interactions, engagements is better because that's someone actually taking the time to respond with you. And then adjust for effectiveness. Go through and change what you're doing. You might find that you're targeting a certain audience member, but all of a sudden someone else is interacting with your books. So either you need to adjust what you're putting out there, or maybe you need to adjust who you're actually targeting to because maybe someone else is interested in your writing. A social strategy, so that just means what platforms do you want to use for social media? Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram. How do you want to use them? Social tools are a great way to elevate your brand, showcase your thought leadership, broadcast your message to a larger following, and promote your ideals and books. You'll notice I put promote your books at the bottom because this is not for you to do a hard sell. This is to elevate your brand and share your brand. Versus on the digital side, where it's websites, blogs, review groups, SmarterQ, emails, whatever you're using there, those are ways for you to promote your books, to advertise your books through ads on Amazon or Google, to showcase your brand, and then again, to share that knowledge and thought leadership, broadcast your message. Writing, this is just what else can you do other than your books that you can write to elevate your brand. So can you write a supporting blog article? Can you write content that fits because you're targeting children who are having trouble sleeping, or you're wanting to try to create a different world? So what other mini stories or teasers or things can you write and put out that adds value to your audience? Look for speaking engagements similar with writing. What can you do to be visible and in front of your target audience that's going to help elevate your brand? It's going to put you in front of people that now they can create a relationship with you and not just a picture on the back of a page in your book. Build a network. There's so many people and so many books out there now, so it helps when you have a network of people that can help share your message out to the audience. Find one that fits with your brand and align to you, people you like, people you know that you can follow, people that have a following that fits your brand. Use your network, so ask them for help. Especially if you have a launch team, ask them to do the things you want them to do to help support your launch. Be open and honest about your expectations. That just means if you want to get a launch team, be clear on what they're signing up to do and then hold them accountable for it. Build a contact network, so engage with other people in your field. Look for people that can be part of your network that are either decision makers, so maybe book buyers, make decisions for buying books. Connectors, they love connecting people, those true business developers. Influencers, they have a large dedicated social media following. Organizations where you volunteer, networks you're at, and interact with your fan base. These are all ideas of where you can get people to join your network. Monitor your brand. So do an annual audit of your brand, how it's coming across, what are people seeing, what you're doing, and then just adjust it. And these are just questions for you to ask yourself to say, is this true to my brand? Is what I'm doing adding value? Does my audience still care about this? At the end, this is just that personal brand. So again, it's always on. So constantly monitor what you're doing, what you're saying, whether it's through your written word or even if it's you engaging in your personal life, because someone will see it and someone will have their impression adjusted or affected by what you're doing. That's everything. All right, thanks everyone. I really appreciate your time. If you have any questions, my contact information is there. Please feel free to reach out.
Thank you. Everybody's just pouring in with some thank yous and a couple of last minute questions here. One from Jane, what are the basic social media platforms that we should use? Maybe you could just throw it out.
I can, here, I'll pop this page up. The most common ones are Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. There is also Goodreads, which I put on the digital slide, but it is really a social media platform as well where you can connect with other readers. The selection of which just depends on who you're trying to target. For example, if it's a younger demographic, you're probably looking more at Snapchat, Instagram. Instagram's actually a good crossover one between different demographics if you're targeting different. Facebook might be to maybe more 30-year-olds and up. Twitter, maybe, kind of that middle age area. So it really just depends, again, who's using it and then who's interacting.
Great, thank you. Cindy also was wondering, if you've written a YA urban fantasy, what other suggestions might you recommend to put yourself out there?
In terms of things you can do, or your brand?
She doesn't say, and I'm not sure if she's
In
still on.
terms
If
of
you're
what
still
you
on
can
the
do.
call there. Oh, go
Oh.
ahead.
I was just thinking more or less in terms of what you could do to put yourself out there, whether it's write a journal entry related to your female character or something like that. Just something unique, because I know people put the recipes of the cook, things that they prepare
Yeah.
for what their protagonist cooks and prepares in their books. Just unique things like that. So I was just kind of curious how someone that's writing YA could put something out there that's a little bit different.
Yeah, and you know what? Think about your characters then, who your characters are, what they're doing, what's believable. So maybe your main heroine is this sassy, tell it like it is type of girl. Maybe you create so your name's Sarah, maybe it's an Ask Sarah section, and people can comment on stuff, and you can have her give answers as she would speak in the book and just write it there. So it becomes more than just book. Now it becomes a thing you can market. Maybe it is a world, so young adults, readers of that love teasers. They love snippets of your book. They love seeing what you're doing. They want to see fan art. So maybe it's running a promotion where you can get people to send in fan art so you can share that. They want to just get into this world, fall in love with this world, and then keep the characters as their friends so they can interact with them in any other way. Maybe it is a recipe book that they're doing. Maybe it's something they're painting and it's actually creating a painting. It's just something that your character could do from the book that you can almost market and make bigger.
Thank you very much.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much, everybody. I think everybody's kind of running to an 11 o'clock, so I'm going to stop recording here. And we just want to thank everybody for coming and enjoy the rest of When Words Collide. Again, we'll post I have posted the workbook on Facebook, and we'll chat about the slides, and the recording will be up on the When Words Collide YouTube channel very soon. Thank you very much for coming.